Welcome to the Movie Business Podcast, picking up where Movie Business Book left off. I'm Jason Squire, hosting a wide range of industry talent and executives to answer fundamental questions about the business today. Here we go. And today we cover the secrets of Marvel Studios with Kevin Feige, president of Marvel Studios and producer of every Marvel movie since Iron Man in 2008. He oversees every aspect of the company's feature film and streaming activities and has built the Marvel Cinematic Universe into the most successful franchise in film history. The Producers Guild of America honored Kevin with the annual David O. Selznick Achievement Award in Theatrical Motion Pictures. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks so much.
I'm very excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure hosting you. Thank you. So let's jump right in and ask, what are the secrets of Marvel Studios?
Well, you know, one of the secrets is that we keep all of our secrets very close to the vest, Jason, and that we are always on high alert for spoilers, but because it's you, and you and I go back a very long time. I don't know if are your listeners aware of how far back we go, and I will just say this, and I will send you a picture of it. I meant to send it to you already. I found a document from when you were my screenwriting professor, and I just recently came across it, and I don't remember what grade I got, but I'm going to send you a picture of it.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's how far back we go together. Yes. I just the other day I found it, and I thought I have to send it to you.
Well, that's so nice of you. Thank you.
Yes, of course I will.
The secrets of Marvel Studios are secret. That's what I'm hearing from you.
That is true, but I will tell you the honest truth, which is not as exciting, but you get the inside scoop on this podcast, and I'll give it to you. There are no secrets. The secret is there are secrets in terms of the storylines and spoilers and things like that. But if there was a formula, because people have been asking us for a very long time, what's the formula? And the truth is there isn't any. And a number of years ago, you know, when we became part of the Walt Disney Company, one of the many, many positive things that happened then is that we got access to all of the brilliant people at the other studios within Walt Disney Live Action and Pixar, and soon after Lucasfilm. So we could have these inside conversations with people. And I found it very therapeutic when the folks at Pixar, again, this is probably a decade ago, were sharing with us how hard they have to work on each project, and how at a certain point, everything they're working on is terrible and is not very good and needs to be shaped and worked and reworked. And I felt such a weight lifted off my shoulders, because that is what it was like for us and still is like for us at Marvel Studios. It takes a tremendous amount of work and effort to make any movie or project, much less one that ends up standing the test of time, which is always what we strive for at Marvel Studios. And for some reason, I just thought, well, all these other successful places and people, it must just come out of their brains perfectly formed. And it's only us at Marvel Studios that has to grind and work and rework and rewrite and recut and reshoot over and over again to make something work. And it turned out, no, that's not the case. The secret that is shared across successful organizations and storytellers and filmmakers is just a tremendous amount of hard work. And the only thing that can power that hard work is passion. And thankfully, that's what we have at Marvel Studios in spades. Is I always say, if we weren't here making the movies, we'd be the first ones to be buying advance tickets, or I used to say waiting in line around the block to go see them.
Wow. Now, during the course of over 30 feature films and countless streaming episodes, are there specific lessons learned?
I think on every project we work on, we learn lessons, and I think the minute you feel that you've learned it all, you should probably get out of the business. You know, it's incredible to say that, but Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is our next feature that comes out in February, will be our 31st film. We've now completed over 10 series for Disney Plus, and the fun thing about starting to do ongoing narrative long form series was it was a whole new learning curve. And it was a whole new opportunity to, stretch and work out a different storytelling muscle for us. But I do think, and I'm sure an example will come to me. But I do think that on every project one works on, you need to take your lessons. And we do a post-mortem on every project, or at least we try to if we're not too busy with the next project, to sit and discuss what went right and what went wrong. And I remember we started doing that. We were asked to do it for the first time after Iron Man 1. And we call them post-mortems now. At the time, it was a what went wrong meeting. We were asked to do a what went wrong meeting for Iron Man. And I thought, what went wrong? This movie's a giant hit. It launched the whole studio. Well, why do we have to do a what went wrong meeting? That's a horrible way to put it, which is what I was reacting to. But it actually is great to sit and go, here's what was done. Here's how we could have done it better. And we do that on every project. And I guess to distill it down of what lessons is learned is entertain the audience at every turn. Frank Capra has a quote that our co-president, Lou D'Esposito, quotes often, which is basically distilled down to entertain first. You can have as many beautiful messages and beautiful life theories and beautiful thematics that you want to put into the world that all of us do and all of our filmmakers do. But if you're not entertaining first, it will fall on deaf ears. And I think that's always been the way. And that, thankfully, when you're making the kind of movies you love to see, that also goes into entertaining yourself, which is what we also try to do here at Marvel Studios.
Now, how do you decide on the next phase?
Well, yes, each of our sagas are broken into phases, and we now find ourselves on the precipice of phase 2 of the multiverse saga. And there are two ways to do it. One, we look at an overarching narrative, always using the comics and the 80-plus years of Marvel comic history as our guide of what general long-term story we want to do. But really, it comes down to each individual film or series and what type of genre do we want to do. I've been at Marvel Studios for 22 years now, and over 22 years. Most of us here at Marvel Studios have been around a decade or longer together. And from probably my second year at Marvel, people were asking, well, how long is this going to last? What is this fad of comic book movies going to end? And I didn't even really understand the question, because to me it was akin to saying after Gone with the Wind, well, how many more movies can be made off of novels? Do you think the audience will sour on movies being adapted from books? Well, you would never ask that, because there's an inherent understanding among most people that a book can be anything. A novel can have any type of story whatsoever. So it all depends on what story you're translating. Non-comic readers don't understand that it's the same thing in comics. There are 80 years of the most interesting, emotional, groundbreaking stories have been told in the Marvel comics. And it is our great privilege to be able to take what we want and adapt them. But another way to do that is adapting them into different genres. And what types of movies do we want to make? And I, from sitting at USC, probably a semester or two before your screenwriting class, Jason, and sitting in Cinema 101 and being exposed to so many different types of film, that I said, I want to make all of these. I don't want to just make one kind of movie. I want to make all kinds of movies. And I found that if we tell the story right, and if we adapt them in a way that the audience still, knock on wood, so far as following us along 22 plus years later, we can tell any types of movies that are merely share one thing, two things: the Marvel Studios logo above the title, and a seed of an idea from our publishing history.
Wow, thank you. Brings us to, as far as you're tracking talent, there is so much new talent in the business, and there is so much that you need to coordinate and be aware of and be consulted on. How do you track new talent in order to choose them for some future project?
Well, we have an amazing team, as I was saying, at Marvel Studios that does just that and watches all types of shows and movies that come out. And we learned many, many years ago that we don't need to just look at the pool of people that had made big blockbuster movies before. We could look at the pool of people that had done anything interesting before. And that was before 2008 and before Marvel Studios, looking at the filmmakers that Fox brought on to the X-Men film, that Sony brought on to the Spider-Man film. These were not filmmakers that had necessarily done large, giant, effects-laden blockbusters before. They had done interesting stories before with a deft touch, and certainly that worked for X-Men and Spider-Man, which was the sort of crucible under which I started watching and learning how to make movies. So when we started doing it ourselves, as you say, in 2005 or 6, and Jon Favreau coming on board to Iron Man. Jon Favreau had done Elf at that point. That is now a Christmas classic. It was in its early days of that, but you watch that film and there's a reason it's a Christmas classic now, because it's incredibly well done, and it simply could have been a disposable Christmas comedy. But what John and that whole team did on Elf was do something that has stood the test of time.
Right.
So it was finding filmmakers that have great and unique storytelling abilities that can help them captain our big Marvel Studios productions to new and interesting places.
So let's turn to the audience members who want to make movies. What advice do you have for listeners who want to make movies?
Well, the amazing thing, since even when I was a kid, there was a new thing called the video cassette recorder. and for the first time, almost anybody could have access to a way to put something on tape and film it and start sort of crudely editing it together. Now, almost everybody has that in their front pocket, which is pretty incredible. And I think even, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the pros and cons of social media, but one of the pros is people are experimenting with the form. They're experimenting with how to film, usually themselves, but okay, doing various things and presenting them in unique ways, which comes down to, some of these incredibly billion views popular videos are using the cinematic techniques of George Méliès, of just creative cutting, in-camera cutting. And yet, because people are so used to billion-dollar CGI effects, pulling it back to that simplest form. I'm wearing one set of clothes, I jump up in the air and land, and suddenly I'm wearing another set of clothes. That kind of feels amazing and neat. And neat that, A, people can do it themselves, but also pulling back a simplicity of the form, which I think you will now see in form features as well. It's another conversation, Jason. But I think it's pretty incredible that anybody can start to tell a story in 1 minute, in 2 minutes, in an hour, in 2 hours, if they want to, with something they have in their pocket. That is one level of advice, which is just start doing it and post it and get people to see it. The other more practical advice that I have is, if you're actually entering the business, is get as close as you can to the types of people making the types of movies you want to make, and impress them with anything they ask you to do. I very much started at the bottom rung of the ladder and thought, if I don't Xerox this script right, they won't ask me to go get lunch. And if I don't get the lunch order right, they won't ask me to go pick up something for this actor. And if I don't do that well, they won't ask me to give my opinions on a scene or a script page, and on and on and on. And at Marvel Studios, that has held true. We promote from within almost 100% as people slowly climb each rung of the ladder to get to a point of making movies.
Well, thank you. Now let's widen with an overview question. What do you see in the future of the business? What's your prognosis?
I think that, I was a couple of years ago when we were in the heat of the pandemic, I was very worried, as we all were, about the state of the world, about the future of civilization, and about the future of the movie business, and specifically the theatrical side of the business. Because I do believe that you can make incredible things that are meant to be seen in the comfort of your own home and tell as great a story as any. But I also believe that nothing beats the shared experience of being in a theater with hundreds of strangers experiencing something. And I think in today's world, it is more important than ever to have some cultural crossover amongst different types of people to live in a shared experience together. And nothing does that better than the theatrical experience. And I was talking to somebody, and I will not name drop, but I was on a Zoom with a group of people, and I sort of shared this. Is it going to go away? Is the movie business going to go away? And this very smart person said, it's not. He said it's going to take a few years, And this person said 3 years, and this was almost 3 years ago. So it'd take about 3 years to get better. And I thought, that's horrible. I want it to take 6 months to get better. And this very smart person turned out to be right. But this person also said, I'm not a sport fan, but this person said, look, anybody can watch any football game they want on television. But every week, hundreds of thousands, millions of people still go into stadiums in freezing cold, in the rain, with a ton of people, driving, parking, overspending for a beer and a hot dog, because that shared experience is necessary for humanity. And that, if one day you start to see stadiums empty at sporting events, then you can start worrying about theatrical, but that's not going to happen because you need this shared experience. So my prognosis for the future is very positive, and there'll be lots of change and lots of disruption, but people still want to be in a theater and cry and cheer and laugh together. And you're seeing that this holiday season, and hopefully we'll see it continue to build and grow next year.
Very good. Yes, the demise of theatrical is predicted every 4 or 5 years. It's been going on for decades.
It's incredible, and I've seen quotes that people present about the fall of theatrical, thinking, "Oh yes, this is a new hot take," and you realize it's from Variety from July of 1928.
That's right. Well, gosh, it's been wonderful hosting you. The MCU is an historic achievement, bringing joy and wonder to worldwide audiences. You and your colleagues deserve so much credit for applying your creative alchemy to these complex, high-risk projects, which will be embraced and studied by generations to come. Bravo, and thanks so much for being on the Movie Business Podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Thank you.